There are 22 video game new releases this week. 22 people. This is amazing. It's crazy. But let's check it out. Let's start out with Spider-Man. Hello and welcome to Parents Guide to Games. My name is Stefan. Please like, share, and subscribe. Guide to Games week of October 17th, 2023.
First game on our list is Sonic Superstars. It's a PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The rating is everyone. Content descriptions: mild fantasy violence. This is an action platformer in which players assume the roles of Sonic and his friends as they zoom around colorful zones and attempt to defeat Dr. Robotnik. As players speed through whimsical environments, they can jump on enemies' heads, causing them to transform into small creatures. Sonic and friends react to damage by losing coin-like rings and falling off screen when defeated. Boss battles are depicted more protracted combat with cartoony explosions. The next game on our list is Wizard with a Gun. It's PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X. The ratings are 110 up. Content descriptions: fantasy violence, mild language, use of tobacco. This is an action-adventure sandbox survival game in which players rewind time to explore a fractured world before chaos consumes it. From a 3/4 overhead perspective, players explore the environment, gather resources, craft tools and weapons. Players use wooden revolvers, machine guns, and melee-style attacks to defeat a variety of enemies. Combat can be fast-paced at times, highlighted by gunfights, impact sound, light effects. One cutscenes depict characters smoking a cigarette. Swear words appear in-game. Now let's take a look at Endless Dungeon. It's coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The rating is teen. Content descriptions: blood and fantasy violence. This is an action game in which players help shipwrecked characters escape from a mysterious space station. From a top-down perspective, players lead heroes through the station's interiors while battling waves of alien creatures and robots. Players use futuristic laser blasters, Gatling guns, flamethrowers, and machine gun turrets to kill enemies in frantic combat. Battles are accompanied by realistic gunfire, large explosions, and screen-shaking effects. Enemy creatures emit blood splatter effects when killed, leaving small stains in the environment. Let's jump into Gangs of Sherwood. It's going to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC. The rating is teen. Content descriptions: blood, language, and violence. This is an action game in which players assume the role of one of 4 heroes attempting a rebellion and saving the people. From a third-person's perspective, players explore futuristic England, search for riches, and battle hordes of enemies. Players use swords, bows and arrows, knives, and melee-style attacks to kill enemies. Battles are highlighted by impact sound, cries of pain, and blood spatter effects. Some environments depict corpses and bloodstains. Swear words appear in-game. Let's take to the track in Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged. It's got on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The rating is everyone. This is a racing game in which players drive toy vehicles around Hot Wheels themed racetracks. Players can drift and boost their way through courses in various game modes. Next up is Gargoyles Remastered. It's got on Xbox Series X, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The rating is everyone 10 and up. Content descriptions: fantasy violence. This is a platformer game in which players assume the role of a gargoyle, attempting to defeat an evil force and save the world. From a side-scrolling perspective, players traverse the city, avoid spikes and fires, and fight small enemies. Players use melee-style attacks to swipe and claw at enemies. Battles are highlighted by gunfire, cries of pain, and colorful explosions. Boss battles depicted in more protracted combat. Here we're going to take a look at Overpass 2. It's going on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC. The rating is everyone. This is a racing game in which players can drive vehicles through off-road track environments. Players drive ATVs, UTVs, and rock bouncers through quick races or career of tournaments. Now it's time for World of Horror. It's going on PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The rating is mature. Content descriptions: blood and gore, language, suggestive themes, and violence. This is a horror role-playing game in which players help to solve supernatural mysteries in Japan fishing village during the 1980s. The game is presented in black and white style using mainly still images and text descriptions of actions. Players make action or dialogue choices to progress the narrative. They can sometimes engage in turn-based battles with fantasy creatures. Battles are accompanied by blood splatter effects and impact sounds. Some attacks result in grave injuries. A handful of still images depict sequences, severed heads, and crucified bodies. In one sequence, players engage in mini-games that involve piercing a character's eye with a needle, resulting in blood splatter effects. The game contains some suggestive material: a woman taking a bath, a mannequin-like creature with exposed breasts, although there is no discernible details. Swear words appear in-game. Now let's take a look at Marvel's Spider-Man 2. It's going on PlayStation 5. The rating is teen. Content descriptions: blood, drug references, mild language, and violence. This is an action game in which players assume the roles of Peter Parker and Miles Morales as they attempt to save New York City from a new threat. From a third person's perspective, players fight crime, swing around buildings, and engage in melee-style combat with enemies. Characters mostly punch, kick, and throw each other during fights. Essential characters can use special symbiotic-based and electric-based attacks on enemies. Some enemies use pistols and machine guns during combat. Gunshots sometimes result in small splashes of blood. Cutscenes depict further instances of violence and blood. A character choked to death, a dead body turned over. Blood drops on a leaf. Some crime scenes characters can be seen training unnamed drugs for weapons. Drug packages can be seen in the car trunk. The words prick and ass appear in-game. The next game is Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It's coming on Nintendo Switch. The rating is everyone. Descriptions: mild fantasy balance. This is a platformer game in which players control characters from the Mario universe as they try to stop the villain Bowser. Players traverse whimsical environments while they are jumping on enemies' heads, throwing shells, objects at them, or tossing small fireballs to knock them off screen. Boss battles contain more involved combat against giant enemies that breathe fire and smash parts of the scenery. Now let's build something cool in Cities Skyline 2. It's coming on PC. The rating is everyone. This is a city management simulation game in which players can build and manage their ideal city. From a top-down perspective, players monitor various statistics while using planning skills to attract businesses, residents, and tourists. Now let's get up and move with Just Dance 2024. It's coming on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and Nintendo Switch. The rating is everyone. Descriptions: mild lyrics. This is a music rhythm game in which players perform choreographed routines by following the movements of an on-screen character. Players score points by accurately dancing in time with the music and scrolling indicators. A handful of song lyrics contains the word hell as well as references to violence and suggestive material. And the last game of today's list with a full description is Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1. It's coming on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The rating is mature. Descriptions: blood and gore, drug references, partial nudity, sexual themes, and violence. This is a collection of action games in which players assume the role of elite soldiers and encounter terrorist and military missions. Players complete missions, infiltrate bases, and use knives, swords, pistols, machine guns, and explosions to kill enemies. Firefights are highlighted by realistic gunfire, cries of pain, and blood splatter effects. Players can employ close quarter combat to incapacitate guards, eliminating them discreetly. Cutscenes contain additional acts of violence: a man's head sliced off, a character's electrocuted repeatedly during an interrogation, a character's arm getting dismembered, a man crushed by a giant tank, resulting in a large blood pool. The collection contains some suggestive material: a man briefly groping a character's crotch, a woman asking a man to make love to me, a snake beater achievement earned for repeatedly zooming in on a pinup poster. One sequences depicts a nude male character in exposed buttocks. The text and dialogue references drugs. And the rest of the games are also coming out, but no information was available. Please follow Parents Guide to Games on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok, and email any questions at parentsg2g@gmail.com. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.